iTiS Well of Worship Fellowship. Today is 3rd June 2024. If you're in Uganda, like some of us, today is a holiday, celebrating the Uganda matters. The ones who apparently stood for their faith against the reigning king. Of course, depending on who you listen to, there are many stories. If you're listening to the king, you'll say these were rebels. If you're listening to another cult, they will say these were saints. They were canonized 60 years ago. Yeah, anyways, Matters Day, and being Monday means we do Q&A. Q&A meaning we tackle questions from life, the Bible, religion, marriage, you name it. Everything apart from politics, we attempt it here. So if you have a question for us, please feel free to send it, either through the person who shared this audio with you, or if you're following us on YouTube, we normally put our phone numbers on the cover image. Feel free to inbox us your question and we'll be happy to record a response. Today we have a question already from one of our own, Francis. Francis, do you want to go ahead and ask?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My question is, it comes out of the presentations about God, and it's directed to Pastor or Priest Isaiah Mutabazi Tumwine. And now we've looked at the different conceptions and perceptions of God by the Jews especially. And of course, we looked at also other backgrounds, of cultural backgrounds of God briefly. But now my question is, where did these I know from the beginning you showed us how human beings came up with the idea of God, and then they came up with the Jews came up with the Israelites actually came up with the Yahwehs, the Jehovahs, then the League of Gods and all that. Where did these gods come from? Did they exist as gods, or were they a mental creation by the particular societies? Because at the end of it all, we see that when I Am comes, he says the only God around. So that means that the other gods were they a fabrication by his adversary, the devil, or were they an alternative or a mental fabrication by the particular cultures which came up with these gods? I hope I'm clear.
Then the question is yours. Have you got it?
Yeah, I assume I have, but that can only be confirmed when I start responding.
Okay.
Hello?
Hey, Peter, you have a follow-up question too?
No, I want to make some preamble before Priest White makes an attempt. I would like to make some little attempt, a small attempt as a course student, with Kavinuli. May I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, yes. 5 years ago, when Priest White was teaching about occultism in the Bible, the first scripture we read was Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. And it reads, "Now the snake was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. According to his teaching 5 years ago, he made an observation. He invited us to make an observation that snake, the word snake, or the term, the word snake is a term in that scripture. And it is the term translated, or that could be translated as occultism. Occultism, where occultism is the practice of divination or the belief in gods. Now, that was the preamble text. And that preamble text, through that learning, through that teaching, when I was present, I learned that when we, through our foreparents, or through our descendants, when we chose another thing outside God, we chose gods. We chose occults. We invented. Let me say that. Let me be audacious to say that we fell into invasions. Because why am I not afraid to say this? I'm not afraid to say this because yesterday's teaching, we did see that gods are a creation at the mercy of belief. Gods, contrary to the God, are products, are productions of belief. When we fell from the God, we fell to our own machinations, to our own inventions, to our own creations, and thus we were grappling with the power. Because in the introduction to God's series, season 1, last Sunday, the other Sunday, Pastor White began with stage 1 entitled Preanimism. And when he was explaining preanimism, he argued that there was an event. Now, I'm paraphrasing. There were events that caused us to think about power. There were events that caused us to think about a thing called authority. There was a problem authority or problem power, and a providential authority or providential power. Now, where the two events occurred, human beings were, and thus human beings perceived. But the fact that they had fallen away from the power, from the authority, they were now prey to other delusions and illusions of power. And therefore, we became victims and slaves to gods who do. Gods who do, because our problems were doing problems, or we understood our problems as doing problems, and therefore we needed doing gods. Not until the God who is not I do, but I am, we have the God who came and said, I am. But he found us having fallen into occultism of the gods of the I do, because our problem had become I do. No wonder through the mythology, the Genesis mythology, when we fall from, or when we fell from the I am, we started to weave leaves. We started to work. Our conception in our fallenness now made us to resort to work towards an authority, to work towards a power. yet the power had worked on us, had worked for us, and had worked everything to completion. I've said a lot, but I came as a course student from what I've been learning since the inception of iTiS Fellowship. Thank you very much. Let me rest. Marcus, I shall return later, given opportunity. Thank you.
Isaiah, mark your students, Peter. As you
No,
respond to Francis.
me, I am in the University of Life. And unlike other universities, in this university, we do not mark and we don't give grades. So, so I am also one of the students in this University of Life, and the professors in this, they don't graduate. You never graduate. They don't give. They have a grading system, and the grading system is what happens to you given your choices and decisions. That is the grading system. So you grade yourself. That is what you do. And the best way to grade yourself is to always make presentations of what you think you know and you have learned. You have to share it with the world. And then other fellow students who are actually honest like you are, they grade you. And you never graduate, you continuously do the same. That is all about the University of Life.
Sorry, I was bringing academics to the university.
Yeah, academics is for jobs. It is for jobs and for food. Academics is a very small thing. It serves only two purposes: food and ego. So that is it. But here in the University of Life, I am sorry, I am not demeaning Professor Serubide and Professor Mukwana, who are the academic giants here. But I'm trying to demonstrate really what they do. Theirs is about food and ego, Dr. So and so PhD. Then a student like Kato graduates with summa cum laude, only A's. And then we celebrate, and then we say iTiS. So it's about food, the stomach and the ego, and that's all. And I think that is very important.
As you do academics, you should know what you are trying to get.
Exactly.
What you're trying to achieve.
Yes, so that is it. That's why we at iTiS, we keep, we are not the most educated. No, we are not. We are not the wisest around. No, we are not. But we are just bold enough to invite everyone, whether you believe in God or not, to come and fellowship with us. Okay? We want to learn from pagans, even within our service ongoing. We want to learn from pagans because we believe that God can always reveal himself through a pagan, and we can learn a thing or two. And then our positions, our serving positions, we don't have dogmatic positions, but our serving positions are always exposed to the public and to light for everyone to come and challenge for those who want to challenge, and question for those who want to question, and shake for those who want to shake. And then once it is shaken and trampled, then we drop it and we adapt to that which has shook it. That's why we believe in continuous education, learning, relearning, and unlearning. That's what we do at iTiS, because we believe in the University of Life. That's what we do. So, all right. So, well, that was besides the question. We now turn to the question of our leader, Francis Kabinuli, and his question is, where did these gods come from? And I think we now need to even involve the God himself, and then ask, where did this thing we call God because that is not its name. Where did it come from? Then where did these things we call gods come from? Where did it come from? I guess it is a very, very serious question. And I think Brother Selvid has given it an interesting preamble, and I will get to him in this response at a certain stage. But for now, I want Brother Kabinuli and all of us who are asking the same question to agree or disagree that man is born or begins to be in an environment. Now, this does not require you to be a believer in God. Any thinking person will disagree with you if you tell them that man begins to be in a vacuum. Even those who do not believe in creationism like I do believe that the Big Bang happened within an environment. That accident happened within an environment. There is an environment. Okay? There is an environment. And I think it is important for us to think about that idea. I like subjecting my mind to thinking, okay? Because I think that is its primary purpose, really, to think about and around things. So I need you to bind your head around this idea of an environment. And then we start discussing the elements of an environment, because every environment has elements, animate and inanimate. But to sum up all those elements, even without mentioning them, we can only say that each and every environment has got two powers, or at least there is power, and that power has two versions. The power within an environment has two versions. It has the version that is hosting, okay, and hospitable, and then it has the version of power that is hostile. I mean, in every environment, and the hospitality and the hostility of the power or the powers that be in each and every environment require those definitions and understandings and perceptions based on the beings within that environment. But for now, we are talking about human beings ourselves. So it is important for us to understand that man is placed within an environment, or begins to be within an environment. And then within that environment, there are hostilities, and then there are hospitable powers within that environment. Now, in the process, what either powers does, the good powers and the evil powers, the hostile powers and the hospitality powers, whatever they do, it is considered as an event. Now, let me pause at that point and ask whether we are all on the same boat and following.
Could you say that again? What is considered an event?
What the powers do, good powers or evil powers, hostile powers, or what they do, what happens within that environment, influenced by those powers, affected by those powers, inspired by those powers, to the being, especially human beings within that environment, they consider that as an event. So how are we? Brother Kabinuri, are you following to this stage?
Chronologically following. So
Yeah. So now the events that happen within that environment of powers, okay? The event that happens within that environment of powers, okay, becomes the experience of humanity within that environment. It becomes the experience. Now, each and every experience that man, okay, experiences teaches man patterns. And the way man learns about these patterns is the experiments he does to attract a particular experience. So some experiences happen even outside his experiments, aka the event. But some experiences happen because of his experiments. So man creates patterns. So when he creates patterns, man learns the things that are invoked by his acumen, his skills, and his talents. Because within that environment, he's using his head, his skills, his abilities to manipulate, to influence his environment, to yield results to him. Now, this we have learned in the stages of civilization of man, that we have learned. But as these events occur, man learns that there are events and experiences which have patterns in which man does not participate, but the patterns are clear and they are constant and consistent. Now, those that happen outside his participation or without his participation, most of those, humanity termed that as gods.
Come
For
again with the
example,
last statement.
hello?
The last statement, come again. What was termed as God?
There are two experiences that man experiences. The ones that he participates in to influence and manipulate the environment to work for his good, and the ones, the event and the experiences that man is within, but he has not participated into those, and the patterns are constant and consistent. Such events and experiences that happen in the same environment where man is, that man has no explanation of his participation, those he termed as gods or powers above, or spirits, or dead ashes stars. Is that clear now?
Yes, it is.
Exactly. So that Brother Kabinuri, for the first part of the response to your question, that is how gods become to be.
I'm following, Sibyl.
Now, let me give you an example. It is possible that if someone who died 2,000 years ago was raised today and placed within our environment, that individual would believe he is in heaven. Because he would see people talking to each other, but in miles distant. He would see people sitting before a screen and talking to each other and seeing others acting. And trust me, today's world was their heaven. So if Ezekiel in his vision, he sees flying beings and people on board, but flying in space, then you wouldn't be very far if you interpreted that prophecy as that prophet Ezekiel saw planes. You really wouldn't be very far. And of course, other technologies. You know what technology has done today and is continuing to do. So the people who didn't know anything about our modern technology, okay, if you presented that and you placed them in that environment, they wouldn't say that they are still in their world. They would say that they are in heaven. Because these things, the possibilities of today, okay, were impossibilities of then. But if a glimpse of their impossibility, which is the possibility of today, if a glimpse of that happened in their world, that would become a god.
Pastor, if I may to get some more understanding there.
Yes.
You've talked of an event or an experience,
yes,
where man is not experimenting, but it's beyond their understanding or their abilities.
yes,
That event or the experience becomes a god or a spirit.
yes.
Does that explain? In my culture, we have sort of God's assistants,
Mm.
whom we call Lubale.
Mm.
But Lubale in the Chiganda culture are the assistants of Katonda we Butonda. They work on behalf of the God in our culture.
Yes.
And
The
but
Lubales and the Misambwas in Buganda are equivalent to the biblical angels.
yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Now, most of the Lubales actually were actual human beings, like Dungu, like Ichibuka. Let me use Dungu. Dungu had an ability to hunt in a spectacular way. He had he had prowess in hunting, and because he used to hunt so efficiently and get all the beasts and all that,
and beyond normal talent.
beyond normal talent. The people of that time, they called him a god. The experience of what others saw him doing was beyond human, so they called him a god. The same with Chibuka. So that means that, do you mean that even the experience can be, you can experience another human being do something and then you turn them, they become a god to you?
Exactly, you got me right.
Thank you.
Let me actually even give you another example in the Bible. In the Bible, King David is worshipped after Yahweh. Did you guys know that?
After Yahweh?
Yes, according to the Jews, after you have worshipped Yahweh, the next figure of worship is David. Why? Because of the wonders that David did and his fighting skills. and the wars that he conquered for Israel. So this is how gods are born. They are born out of phenomena that happen in the environment. And these events happen within particular locales. This is why when you are reading the Bible, not only the Bible, but even if you go back to your ATR, the African Traditional Religion of each and every ethnic group, there are two important things. One, names are important, names of individuals. Two, places. So in other words, people are important in the economy of gods and worship. People are important. Places are important. Objects are important. Objects like trees, huge stones, when the stage is animistic, those are very important and very crucial. And places and people and objects are not important until there is an event around each. That event which births experiences. Those experiences have patterns. Repetitive patterns, that's why they are patterns. And now those patterns now are transferred, are mystified, and they become gods. And then they start now attributing particular powers to particular problems, or specific powers to particular problems. What is the reference point? The event and the experience. Basically, that is how gods are born. That's how the gods are born in that perspective.
So
Now, yes.
does that mean the gods are a creation of the human beings in that case?
They are not a creation per se. There is an experience and there is an event that you cannot deny.
What you lack is the explanation for the event, right?
Yes, what you lack is actually the understanding of the explanation of that event. Because you can't explain it, it is beyond the known, it becomes phenomenal, and when it repeats again, it becomes a god. And
Okay.
if there is something in nature that solves the problem, it becomes a god. For instance, cultures that worship the sun come from the event of winter that does not stop. Are you guys following?
I am. I don't know about the others.
Yeah. The astrology of sun worship has an event that precedes it and that inspires it. People could stay in darkness and in coldness for 8 months non-stop. And lo and behold, the sun came out. And that cult is actually stated in the Bible. I think it is in Jeremiah chapter 25, if not Ezekiel 25. Someone should remember me. That 25 men were standing facing the sun and worshiping it. So the winter event and the appearing of the sun, that is summer season, would become a worship, would become a god. The sun would become a god, and that would become a religion and a belief.
Pastor,
so, yes.
If I may add another example coming from Mr. Nsamba Musoke's name,
Yes.
one of the Chiganda angels,
Yes.
that is Musoke, Lubale Musoke, is is an event after destructive rains, very
Exactly.
heavy destructive rains. When a rainbow showed up, whenever a rainbow showed up after a heavy rain, or as the rains were ending,
Yes.
it was a ray of hope that the bad rains are ending, those destructive rains are ending. So it became a demigod, a semigod, or an angel to the Baganda, or Rubali for the Baganda.
Exactly.
That's how Rubali Musoke came about.
Now, thank you very much, Brother Kabinuli, because I want people to go back to their Bibles and read the story of the floods. The floods themselves are an event that is connected to the emotion of a god. Are you guys following? Our country is flooding because the gods are angry. Then there becomes a rainable god who sucks out the floods and saves us out of the floods caused by other gods. And then we celebrate this God that has saved us. All these are not just nature phenomenons where, like now we do, there's the study of the weather is what they call it, meteorologic. How do you call it? I've forgotten how it is called.
Meteorology.
Yeah, that meteorology study. For today now we have that technology to understand that this and this is happening because of ABC. We can explain. For them, they couldn't. This is how the gods are born. They are born out of experiences that they cannot explain. This is why people who argue for science tell us that we should not conclude that there is a God because we can't explain something. Because that is the premise, that is where we have come from. Are you following the argument?
The God is a gap in our knowledge.
Yes, we should stop saying that every gap in our knowledge is God, therefore. Let us not be lazy. And I agree with this scientist. Most of us believers in God are lazy in various areas. Instead of digging into science to find out what science says about ABC, we just conclude that this is God. But we're just being lazy. For instance, you are lazy to believe that the Tower of Babel had almost reached heaven where God is. You are being lazy. All you need to do is to go and ask science, at what level of the sky does oxygen stop? Because there are layers of gases. So you shouldn't read the Bible in a lazy way. Now, that is for the believers in the existence of God, isn't it? But the scientists also should understand that the universe has inexplainable things. And it is not because we are still searching. It is because that is how they are. That is proper science. We have gone around the cell. We have collected all that we can for the last 1,500 years. That is what it is. We know the process of its functionality, but we don't know why it is functioning that way. So to the scientists, I also tell them, let us be humble to believe that there is a power beyond our explanation. Now, that is science and reason for you. But Brother Kabini, to respond to your question, I think I've just dealt with part A, and part A is that is how gods were born. A human being is placed within an environment. The environment has got two powers. Those powers produce an event. That event breeds an experience. That experience has patterns. That which can be explained, they have no problem. Those patterns that cannot be explained within their experience, those become gods. And we have demonstrated that ably. I can go part by part in the Bible to demonstrate that. That is how astrology, people worship the sun because of the event of winter. And then people will worship the rains. That is Yahweh, the storm, the God of storms. God, people will worship the rains running away from summer. But today we know that these are seasons. We know how these seasons are caused. We know how deforestation can cause a drought, okay? And we know how a drought also can become a wilderness. we just know. Now those need not be gods today, given the information that we have. Given the information that we have. Well, I don't know whether I've been useful, but I wanted to pause here. And I don't want to go into now the I am.
Let's first establish that Francis has got his answer.
I've understood how gods came to be, the part A, and what is still probing me is an extension of that. From that point on, the gods we've been talking about, the Yahweh, the League of Gods, the Jehovahs, and all that before the I am. How are they real? Are they real powers? Are they real powers, or they are a misconception of the I am?
Okay. Okay, I think that is now part B of the question that we need to now to address. Now, this is what I would say from a theological point of view. This is what I would say. There are two things, whether you believe in God or not, there are two things that you cannot deny. You can't deny good and evil. At least there's Cato on this call, whom I know that doesn't believe in God or gods. He will speak for himself. But for now, I can say that even a person like Cato cannot deny that there is good and evil. And there's another thing that he cannot also deny.
I agree.
The other thing also most of us cannot deny is that good and evil is both a product of human behavior and choices, therefore, and a product of not any of the above. There is goodness in this universe that is happening besides our choices. And there is evil in this world that is happening outside our will and choices. For instance, a very simple example. We know why a human being suffers from diseases like HIV. There must be a choice involved for someone to suffer HIV. And that choice could be a choice made for, like a child being born with HIV, because of the laziness of its parents, or because of the bad heart of its midwife, or the doctor in charge of that delivery. So that there's a choice made for. Then someone is suffering HIV because there is a choice made. One decides not to use protective measures while having sex. Or the other one decides to pour their blood in the other people's blood. There's a choice made for someone to suffer that. But why are plants rotting? Why are trees withering? Because it is not a good thing for a tree to wither. Things dying off, cells in the human body dying and recreating, and others dying. We would say that that is nature and it is natural, yes. But then why are we coming up with a science to ensure that cells do not die at the rate they are dying?
Because it is not a good thing.
Because it is not a good thing. We are fighting it. We can't explain HIV, that maybe it was engineered within our labs. But cancer was not. We know how cancerous cells work. And we don't know why such a tumor would develop for someone eating something as sweet as sugar. And we're still contemplating scientifically that, well, sugar is one of the cause, but not always. So there is evil outside our choices, outside our will. And this is why science should be commended, because it is fighting the evil outside human will. Then social sciences are fighting the evil within our will and choices. We are trying to make people think better, not to hurt others, to love one another, to coexist, so that we avoid the evil that we cause to ourselves. But there is still evil, even if, because humans believe that if people behave and treat others well, the golden rule, do unto others what you would wish others do unto you. Even if we behaved and treated other people right, we still have an enemy outside us and our choices. Is anyone seeing where I'm going with this? Yes, because the serious question from Brother Kabinuri, whom I should actually blame for not always being present here, because when he comes, he helps us. The serious question from Brother Kabinuri is, but are these gods real or mere fantasies? Now, the question is not whether the gods are real or mere fantasies. The question is, are the powers real? Now, I bring back the question to you. Are the powers of good and of evil real? I don't care whether you believe in God or not. I want someone to respond and tell me, are the powers of both good and evil in this world real or not?
I want Kato to answer that one.
You really can't deny that they are real according to what we perceive through our senses.
Exactly. So to me, Brother Kabinuri, if our answer is the same as that of Kato, because I also agree with Kato that these powers are real. These powers are real. Therefore, they exist. For instance, you cannot take a patient who is possessed. Okay? Marion, can you mute? Can you mute, dear? Okay, thank you.
Done.
Yes. Oh, she's back again. Mute again, like you are done. You cannot take a possession, or you cannot subject a possession to a lab test.
Possession, you mean someone being possessed?
Someone who is possessed.
Mm.
You can't subject that to a lab test. But can you deny the experience?
Some with mental health issues.
Can you just dismiss that?
Mental health.
You call that mental health?
A mental health issue.
Okay, good. You go to Butabika. Go to Butabika today and visit any good neuroscientist. They will tell you that they have patients to whom their scientific tests of neuroscience suggests otherwise, and the experience of the patient also suggests otherwise. That you cannot deny, not in Africa, not in the West. Because the Catholic Church and even other neuroscientific faculties have acts of exorcism. Exorcism kintu kya Luganda oba kya Lunyarwanda. But is exorcism is a laboratory term?
No.
But even the whites have it. Do you know why they have it? Because they go to the wall with the neuroscience and they are face to face with an experience. Someone is possessed. Number one, there is no science that explains people walking on water or sitting on water. Now, gentlemen, in an island known as Buziba in Uganda, two men sit on water and play mweso. Mweso is the African chess. And they do that during the day. But you see, just because you've not seen it, those are just fantasies. They are not there. but these powers are real. And they are here with us. So personally, from my experience, I have prayed for some people, and one of the patient was in Manyi, okay? That's where we are. We had a crusade there, and a lady could sit like do you know how Muslims sit? All these Indians, how they sit when they are eating their rice. She could sit like that, and as we prayed, she could be lifted in space, and she went up off the ground, and we couldn't pull her down. We could even hang on her, trying to pull her down. Now, in science, maybe we can explain that defiance to gravity. But I witnessed it. So if you ask me,
Pastor,
yes,
I also witnessed my father in the 80s and early 90s.
Yes.
He used to be in two places at one time sometimes.
Exactly. He was called the Musajja we Kanzu.
He used to be in a kanzu. He would be at work in a suit or something, and at home in a kanzu. But the version in the kanzu never used to talk. That's what we used to call the spirit.
Okay.
You just know it around, not saying anything.
But you could see it.
You could see it, yeah.
With physical eyes.
With physical eyes, yeah.
So gentlemen, we cannot deny that these powers are real and before us. So to answer your question, Brother Kabinuri, Yes, they are real and they are here. And they are fantasies, of course, but there is also reality. And we just have to prove that reality. There's a reality for that. So when we go back to our theological version, this is what we say. We say that God is real. There is a God. And there is the God who created this whole universe. And there are counter powers against that God that represent evil. And this is why we discourage people from worshiping a God who is in charge of heaven and hell. Can I say that again? We discourage all believers in what they call God to worship any God who is in charge of both heaven and hell. If the God you believe is in charge of those two geographies, that is not the God that we Christians preach. Moderator, let me say this again so that people can hate me properly. Because there are many people who worship a God who is in charge, a God who is going to send people to heaven because they have believed him and they have behaved, and the same God is going to send other people to hell because they have not believed him and they have not behaved like he wants them to behave. That is not the Christian God that we preach.
I form light, I form darkness.
If you worship such a God who forms light and forms darkness, you're worshiping those evil powers, because we know that most of those gods could come and strangle people with demands. Isn't it, Mr. Kabinu? The gods of Buganda and Serubide. These are the two Bugandas that I know on this school.
Right.
So the gods of Buganda are punitive gods, and so are the gods of Jews. And so is the God in the Bible. He's a punitive God. Let me be bold to make that statement clear. Because you've seen the God in the Bible, known as Yahweh, killing and destroying communities because they don't believe him. And in fact, punishing the Jews for not killing others. Go and read 1 Samuel, where God almost killed King Saul for not destroying others. Opening grounds wide and people falling under the ground and covering the ground because they have misbehaved. That is not the Christian God. The Christian God is not the God who kills those who do not believe him. The Christian God is the God who dies for those who do not believe him. And he is a God who says in John chapter 10, verse 10, that I have come that they may have life and have life abundantly. He is a God in charge of light, not of darkness. In charge of knowledge, not of ignorance. He is not in charge of hell. And he will not send anyone to hell. He's only in charge of the new world and the new creation. That is the God we preach. But if you worship a God who punishes you for not observing a particular day right, if you worship a God who punishes you for not giving him money, if you worship a God who rewards you for giving him all your money and then he multiplies it, if you worship a God to whom you must fast 40 days dry and pray unceasingly for him to respond, If that is your God, that is a punitive God. It is the God you are dying for. It is not the God who died for you. This distinction, Mr. Moderator, and all those listening to me, is very crucial. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I wasn't left alone here.
No, we're here.
Excuse me. Yes. How then should we understand 25:41 Matthew? If this God is not in charge of hell as well?
What?
41.
But we have discussed this proverb, Mr. Serubide. What have we said about this proverb? Because you see, after we have illustrated whatever we have illustrated today, then Peter asked the question by saying, Abaganda bagamba. Does anyone understand? After we have presented this lecture and this explanation, then someone says there's a proverb that says. So, Mr. Serubide, should we understand, should we dig for what the proverb means, or we settle with what the proverb says?
We need what it means. We need what it means.
But you want us now to discuss what it states. And for purposes of this call, let us go back to the proverb. Can we, moderator?
Yes, please.
Because let us start with the verse that Peter says. Verse 41 says, then he will say to those at his left hand, depart from me, you cast into the fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Now, before I go into the context of the proverb, let us first dwell on the verse itself, because there might be people stuck with Peter's question of this verse, isn't it? Let us read the verse in English only. We won't even waste a lot of time going into the Greek. Let us just read the verse in English. Then he will say to those at his left hand. Now, that line alone demonstrates that these are people already on the left. Now, in the Bible, left represents wrongness. I am not shy to say that I am left-handed. In the biblical culture, the Jews' culture, a person like me who is left-handed was cast. Maybe I'll come back here one day and give you the verses in the Old Testament. Now, depart from me, you cast, Homer. Is anyone looking into their Bible right now like I am? For those of you who are at home. Now, these ones are already cast.
I'm following.
Yes, these ones are already cast, comma. Why? Because they are on the left. So left-handed people like myself, we are already cast. We are even on the left. Now, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. Now, question, is the fire theirs?
No.
Good, you got it, Jed. So therefore, the eternal fires, aka what you call hell, is for no one according to God. But you see, those on the left have chosen the left side. This is why anyone who will be in hell, we forbid. It will be a choice. It will be a preference. It is for this reason that we're always here discussing these matters, so that someone can choose, can understand that there is a God and there is an alternative to God, so that people can choose. Well, I have seen God and understood him, but I prefer this guy. It is all right. But here's the thing. If you don't choose God, you have involved yourself into fires that are not prepared for you, because there is no fire prepared for any human being. They are prepared for the devil and his angels. But you can burn with them by choice. But now, priest, who prepares those fires now? Isn't that the question now that remaining? Now that is where we go to where we started. The parable. Should we focus on what the parable states, or we focus on what the parable means? Well, the parable is about the goats and the sheep. Now, we all know that none of us is a goat, and none of us is a sheep. So to use the terms of goat and sheep, there is a meaning that we should focus on. In other words, they are discussing the characteristics exhibited in human beings that are goatish and are sheepish. That is for the goat. Okay? Then when we get here, the verse that does not say that God prepared the fires. The verse says that the fires are prepared for the devil. Now give me some time and I look at the Greek. There's something I'm looking for. Please, just only 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, God willing. Because sometimes the Greek helps us. Okay? To prepare a perfect person. Oh, good. Now the word for prepare. The word for prepare in Greek is etoimazo, to prepare. Etoimazo. Please bear with me, because I want to address the question of Peter. He has wasted our time, but that is okay. It is eteimazo, to prepare, to make ready, okay, with a thing as the object of that. But that is not my interest. My interest is in the grammar of eteimazo, okay, in verse 41, because the grammar in verse 41 is etoimazomenon. This is, okay, a participle imperfect tense, and is passive in voice, and is accusative. In other words, the fires are not prepared by any other thing. They are prepared by the beneficiaries of that fire. That is the participle for you. So the fires are for the angels, made by the angels and the devil himself, and for them, and them alone. They are exclusive fires. But someone can choose and apply for these fires. Just like you don't deserve heaven. We keep telling people this, that no one of us deserves heaven. We are sinners. Hence, we are saved by grace through faith alone. Heaven is not ours. Eternal life is not ours. But once we believe and apply by our belief, graciously, because of this belief, we are ushered into eternal life. So are the fires. They are also not ours. But we apply. So Professor Serubide, that is your 41 for you. But if you're worshiping a God who is in charge of both, woe unto you. Why? Because at any point you annoy him, he sends you to the other side. And when you appease him, you qualify to the other side of eternal life. Therefore, you are not saved by grace. You have earned heaven. So when you worship a God who is in charge of heaven and hell, you earn either hell by annoying that God, heaven as a reward by appeasing that God. But you can choose which God you're going to serve. The satanic gods are punitive gods. They are in charge of what is good and what is evil. When you don't serve them, they come and strangle you to pulp. And then someone sacrifices something there, and then they leave you alone. Moses became careless with circumcising his boy. A God came and strangled him. He almost died. He was saved by his wife Zipporah, because his wife quickly circumcised the boy and then threw what she had cut from the titty of the boy on Moses, and then the gods left Moses, but he was dying. Why were they strangling him? Circumcision. And most of you come from cultures where gods are strangling people until you make sacrifices. Those are the gods, the same gods you are worshiping in your churches, where your pastor tells you you are not blessed because you are not seeding, you are not offering. Where your preacher tells you that your shop caught fire because you opened it on a Saturday, which is a day of this God. Where your reverend is telling you that the reason as why you don't have children, it is because you have not done ABC. Has anything changed? These are punitive gods. Thank you, moderator. I hope I have...
Okay, thank you. Let me get some reactions. Now, those who joined in late, I've just been trying to trace the origin of gods, what we call gods. And I think the pastor has explained it very well. But I know Kato has dropped off. I know he likes his subject. I wanted him to come in at this point. Peter, you're happy?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
I know Kato is one of those who like this topic. He had dropped off. Anybody has any other question or comment on the subject of gods and their origin and how they come to be? Kato, you have a comment on the origin of gods? Okay, no response. So guys, if there's nothing else to discuss, as always, we go and do other things here. We don't...
They might have questions, maybe, other different questions from what we have discussed. Questions about life, relationship, etc.
Okay, anybody with a question?
When when people say have hope, have hope, do not lose hope, what are they saying I should not lose?
And I also have a
And
question later, after Peter.
You also have a question?
After Peter.
Okay.
I think Pastor White should ask. For me, I'm a regular asker. I'm a regular asker.
My question goes to all of you, and I would like Abby and Marion also to participate in this question. From a woman's point of view, and from the view of any person, man or woman, who is rational, why would a lady who is 32 years, a single mother, okay, insist that or tell her boyfriend or her suitor that she's not willing to move in with him unless this man goes to her parents, pays dowry, throws a wedding, and this lady wedded before and she divorced, had a baby with another man who is not the one that she divorced, and now she's not willing to move in with a man who says that in 2 years they can talk about these arrangements, but her condition is these arrangements before any moving in. Are ladies sometimes too audacious, or she's doing the right thing that every lady should do at the age of 32, divorced, had a baby with another man, but now you can't. Why would this woman act like a girl? I am sorry. Thank you, moderator.
Okay, the question is for the ladies. Abby.
Musumba.
Angie, sweetie.
Koye bakula bagambako. Anyway, well, I will be objective and I'll be conservative at the same time. First of all, we do not know the pretext under which this lady divorced, okay? Being married and divorced at 32, that is too young to face such a situation. Secondly, there is a saying, once bitten, twice shy. Probably she did it with the first and it didn't go well. So she's being careful, what they call being careful, okay? Or even rather modest. But why is she being a girl? Well, if this man really is in love with her and respects her, definitely he will take on the decision. Because ideally, she's also being protective of her child. I'm now trying to be objective, both ends. She's being protective of the child. And ideally, very many women would not want to bring in somebody new into their children's lives just because they've quickly told them to move in. Maybe she wants to study this man for quite some time until she actually moves in with him. But the notion of her being a girl, no, she's not being a girl. She is not at all being a girl. She has been beaten. She's now twice shy. She has been probably through fire and back. She's now healing. She's now getting back on track. So the idea of having to move in and saying yes quickly just because this man asked, it shouldn't be a notion of even debate. There should be reasons as to why this man actually even wants her to move in. Has he given any justifiable reasons that, hey, I want to get close to your child, I want us to build a family together? That sense of security. Because when you've been through a divorce, the people I have seen, they are so wounded. They are so wounded in that even though you told them to let their child sleep over at a friend's place, they wouldn't. Male or female, by the way, it is both ends, male or female. And well, it is clear that this man actually, now let me be objective on the man's side. It's clear that the man loves this girl, you call her, but being 32 and divorced, we have seen those who are 40 and divorced and remarried again. So we should embrace it on the side of the lady and on what the man has to offer emotionally. Is he saying, okay, hey, why I'm telling you to move in, it's because I need us to do ABC. Or secondly, I wouldn't want us to do this right now, the Kochala, the dowry issue or what. The only part where I think the girl is being a child is testing the man's lens. Because even if I told you that, no, we have to go Ochale or Anjule, yeah, that is just me testing you to the extremes. But ideally, at this point in time, she shouldn't even go to that extreme. It's quite odd and off, but we ladies even have a way of putting aside a man, like brushing him off, because we know when you tell a man Jango Chari, Jango Yanjuri, Jango Kolechino, many run. And as you've said, this man, why is he asking all those things? So that is my perception on the lady versus the man, but objectivity should be paramount here.
Okay, thank you.
Moderator, can I say something?
The moderator has muted himself.
Please say something.
Okay. Now, I happen to have 80% of my friends are ladies, and most of them are in their 20s and 30s. And I have a big share of my friends who are separated or divorced. There is a reason, and most of them, what's confusing me with this particular lady, the pastor is talking about, is she's not rhyming with most ladies who have been divorced or separated, because from the narrative of the ones I know, it's almost a rule of thumb that most ladies who have gone through divorce or separation, they don't want to, they just want someone serious, and they don't want to go through the functions, those marital, those ceremonies, they don't want to go through them. Actually, recently, about last month, I had a deep conversation with one of my close friends, and she was telling me she's in her mid-30s. She's separated when she was, she divorced actually when she was 34. She has 2 kids. Now she's 36. She has those 2 boys. And she, all the time she was telling me, Francis, I want to get a serious man who will take me on as I am. I don't want to go through that, the functions again. And this is a story of many of them. So I'm wondering why, I think the reason why the pastor called this lady a girl is those demands of functions and all that are usually presented by girls, the young ones, the youngish ones who go over and go through the...
Yeah, to me, I think they deserve it more than someone who is 32, single mother, married already and divorced, you know.
Because like I'm saying that most ladies who are in that predicament, they wouldn't put before a gentleman those demands. They would I've known actually, I will actually, you are going to send me into more research with these friends of mine who have separated or divorced to seek more information. But I've not met a lady who insists on functions, yet they have a child and they've been there before. Most of them would do with a serious person who just where she would just move in with the person. Actually, I would also wonder where this lady gets the audacity to ask for these privileges.
Hello?
At that age, but now.
Petero wamuga
32 for a woman is jet, very young. Continue, Peter. 32.
Yes. Yes, sir. Bannange nina ekimu ku byenzudde. Musumba Isaya atera otunyumiza omusomesa wo wa philosophy yamuyigiriza bwe baali bayingira ekibiina kya philosophy n'abagamba nina amateeka g'obulamu ennono z'obulamu bbiri, amateeka ennono z'obulamu bbiri, esooka egamba weetegeere, know thyself. Ate ennono esembayo n'abagamba nti obulamu buno bwangu nnyo, kyenkanidde awo, tobukalubya. Naye mbadde nsaba nnyongereko ennono endala. Ennono eno natandika ogirowoozaako, nange nsaba ngyongereko, egamba bw'eti, obulamu buno bukalubo nnyo. Kale nno buli bw'ofunangayo engeri ekendeeza ku bukalubo obwo girowoozeeko.
Era egwa mweri ssebo.
Wangi ssebo?
Egwa mweri ey'okubiri.
Kale leero anti njifudde explicit bwe badde implicit. Nti bannaye obulamu buno bukalubo nnyo. Kale bw'ofunanga engeri ekendeeza ku bukalubo obwo girowoozeeko. Twali tunyumya ne Musumba Isaya, watutera nnyo okunyumya. Namunyumiza omu ku bakama bange ayina diguli ey'okusatu gye bayita PhD. Eyali ewagamidde ng'erina weewagamidde. Yakeera nkya n'atwala kaddayana ka seminti ku sayiti ya supervisor gye yali akola. Nga naye supervisor si yakamutumye. Wabula ono bwe yamanya nti supervisor we alina obwetaavu obwo, n'atwala kaddayana nga kaliko obusawo bwa seminti 15. Omwaka gwali tegunnaggwako, yali ku lukalala lw'okutikkirwa. Era bwe twogerera leero, dokita nnyo. Kati kyengezaako naye kyewuunyisa abantu tutambulidde nnyo, twakuzibwa nnyo mu mboozi. Waliwo emboozi ezikoze ebintu ebimu ebikalu by'obulamu bwaffe, ng'emboozi ezo tetuzirowoozangako. ku myaka bwe giti olina okuba nga omaze okusoma, ku myaka bwe giti olina okuba nga owasizza. Tosobola kuzaala okuggyako nga owasizza, tosobola kuzaala okuggyako nga muli bagatte, tosobola kuzaala okuggyako nga omaze okusoma, okufuna olubuto ng'okyasoma. Gamba tulina emboozi ezizze zikola mu bulamu bwaffe ne ziteekawo emitendera oba ne ziteekawo standard, nga ne standard ezo tetuzirowoozangako. Teri yali atuddeawo n'afumiitiriza kulowooza naye agamba kugamba tutabula ebintu bibiri. We confuse important things with principal things. We think that important things are principal things. For example, going to school and acquiring academics is important, but giving birth to children is principal. Abantu bangi musumba tutera okwo. Many people musumba alina ekintu kyayogera ekyokujereegerera nti yakizuula nga bannayuganda abasinga ekizibu kyabwe ekinene tulo. Oba wakafubutukamu bwoti wakavasomero ng'onoonya poloti, oba wakanoonya ka poloti konna ng'okajjuza ennyumba ey'ebisenge by'okwebaka ng'ogenda oyiika muli mu nnyumba ng'obukala mu tulo. Buli wamu nnyo. Okay. People have houses but no homes. We are busy confusing important things. Ennyumba eri important but it's not principle. Kakati ffenna ndowooza kitukwatako mu bulamu nga omwana wattu nga kyatuula mu nda ye nti ekintu omusajja okwo kye bayita omusajja ali serious kitegeeza mbaga, kitegeeza mikolo. Ne bwe banjiwa 10 ng'eyasooka yanjiwa n'owookubiri, akabonero akalaga obukakafu bw'okunneetaaga ng'oli musajja kukyala
ne bwe zibeera mbaga nga ziddiriŋŋana. Bonna babeera abasajja bali serious, just ofumba buganye from one wedding to another.
Ne bw'aba yanobye jjo
beera n'omukuba embagga oba serious.
Taata kubanga emboozi eyazimba ennone eyo mu ye tagirowoozangako. Kati tugenda tukalubya obulamu. Juzi nali ngamba jet last Monday nga tetunnatandika. Nanga bannaye abafumbo bw'oba ng'owulira ng'okooye mugamba munno waye gendako eka mwezi gumu pulira njagala kubeerako nzekka oba kangende nfulumemukko nja kubeera nga wali ku Eastern Route Hotel nja kusula awe wiiki 3 mpulira njagala kubeerako nzekka n'otandika okussa kati wafunye omukazi. Life is simple. Do not complicate it. Life is complicated. If you find a means of lessening the complication, think about it. Neyanza nnyo ssebo.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
I also have something to say about small. What I'm thinking is that either this lady is not interested in the guy by after identifying that maybe there are several factors that this guy lacks. For example, if the guy seems not to be serious or has other sexual partners, and then, but again, still shows that has interest in this lady. So the only way to push him away is by saying, can you go for these ceremonies so that you can be known back home? Another thing would be but the only difference, like Peter said something of the kind, that it is very rare for girls or ladies 32 years and above who have been married and divorced to again request for these ceremonies, because they are tired and they feel like it entangles them for not being free like they wish. But again, if the person had not been married officially, then they feel like it should be done because that is the only way to protect their relationship, and that's the only way they can cover up the first mistake, because you cannot do the first mistake and then you do it the second time and again say it was a mistake. That's why most ladies request for those ceremonies. But for this case, it's a different one. Therefore, I expect to the most percentage that this woman is just running away from the man. Either she has studied that the man cannot afford doing the ceremonies, or he's still not serious to go in for and settle for the marriage. That's what I can say, I think, for now.
Yeah, nice. Ate tu omuntu abakadiye nnyo omuti omugamba.
Gwe naawe Jet tuleke naawe gwe abakazi obamanyi aba 32 wali osinkanyeko Ogiwo Jet tutandikira awo. Wina Ogiwo gwomanyi tutandikira awo, wina Ogiwo gwomanyi
Sebo.
yali atya maama wo.
Yo mister.
Gwomanyi omukazi wa 32 omumanyi ng'asaba mbaga ne make-up aba wakusasula mungi.
Edda naawe omukazi 32 nga era
bano Marion waali ne Ebbi we bali bakubuulire ebintu bye banyumya mu saloon. Oli basooka namufumbira amazzi g'okyabamu. Si buli omuntu no bamutuuzaako butuuzi. Do you know what they go through? Batubuulire.
Isaya anange. Basooka kufumba ku mazzi.
Mu cosmetology mubabuuza abakazi we bali wano. Ebbi waali ne Marion we bali bababuulire ebizibu bye bayitamu. Era wa saloni agamba mami kano tekajja kukolako naye tusooke tukunyige.
Kasajja baliko ababika oluyi mu bubaaba.
Babankubira bwereere.
Kena kateekako sanctions zigwe kaleke.
Akate mwereka mbabuuze omukazi alina 32 years ku kuzaala kw'olwaleero n'endya ya leero azaala abaana bameka from that point on?
Asobola okuzaala babiri.
Ndowooza okirabye. Kati bw'aba asaba embaga ng'agisaba omusajja
oluvannyuma lw'okusiiba n'okusaba okw'amaanyi.
Asobola okubazaala babiri bw'aba mulamu, naye era babiri baakuwa. Kubanga abaana babiri w'abazaalira Jet abeera alina emyaka 38. True or false? Kati bw'azaala abaana babiri ng'alina emyaka 38. Kati njagala tunoonye abakazi ab'emyaka 38 nga bazadde abaana babiri nga kuba waliwo abalina 38 nga tebannazaala. Then wabawo n'abalina 38 nga bazadde. Kuba omukazi buli wazaala akyuka. Kati oyo mukazi yakusaba embaga emyaka 6 egiyise, laba bwafaanana. And you wonder lwaki at the age of 40 omusajja ali mu kunoonya mukazi mulala.
Bo tebafaayo ne bwabumbulukuka.
Ebanaga ebintu bino tubeere serious. Bino betubeere serious. Ekituufu nnyo.
Musomba olaba abaana ne bwe babeera nga bakula wakati w'omulenzi n'omuwala wadde nga they are the same age, same month, omuwala ye maturing faster than the guy. Endowooza ebeera ndala okusinziira ku y'omwana omulenzi. That's why you will find that omusajja bw'abanga nga benkanenkana nga beefunye nga bonna benkanenkana ate omulenzi alaba ng'oba ali younger than the girl, naye ate nga reasoning y'omuwala ye ate eba etunuulira birala mu maaso nnyo okusinga ey'omulenzi.
Kati byebyo owasa omukazi kakozesa ekya Marion, owasa omukazi omugamba tugende out agamba sente tuzigulemu ensawo ya sementi. Kati n'osinkana eri omukazi omulala nga yakkiriza okugenda out, ono goyine waka yafuuka nnyoko. Kati ne bagamba mbu oyenda. Oba wali wategedde kye ŋŋamba?
Nkitegedde ssebo, ndi mu kukitegeera waneeno wennyini.
Kati abasajja naffe mututegeere Ebbi, sometimes awo we tuli. Kubanga ekyo kituufu, abakazi bategeera mangu obulamu okusooka abasajja. Kimu kyakubiri, ekirala ekibi. Abakazi mu mubiri bakaddiwa mangu nnyo okusinga abasajja. naye kati omusajja addire milioni 50 aziteeke mu mikolo. Kuba ensonga ya Peter gyayogedde enkulu nnyo bano tugirowoozeeko. Kiki ekiri important? Kiki ekiri urgent? Ananga obudde butuweddeko mweraba.
Mukazi wa myaka emeka asaana milioni 5? Soko nga tonnagenda.
Omukazi osaana milioni 5 alina okuba nga alina emyaka 23 ku 25.
Bagamba zigenda zikendera ng'emyaka watuukira mu 3 ng'oli ku milioni nga 2.
Asobeera wakati w'emyaka 27 mpaka ku 3 gwe balina kukyala wammwe mu nnyumba bakutwale. Mweraba.
Kale ssebo
tukutaddeko sanctions. Isaiah tukutaddeko sanctions. Todda ku Zoom eno. Todda ku Zoom tukugobye. Let's talk about this on Thursday, guys. Thursday 6 to 8 p.m. we are back. Tujja kiddamu social topic.
Bulungi bannange.